All right, let's talk about common pneumatic components. This is a pretty simplified system of something that you might see in a shop, in some sort of factory, anything ranging from a tire shop to an auto shop to someone's garage to some place where they make hats, some place where they make cars, any kind of pneumatic system, because we can do a lot with it. Great quiz question is being able to label all these parts. Here we go. Make sure you check the Google Doc for what you are supposed to put in your notes. First, we have a compressor, which is making our air. It's taking that air in from the atmosphere and compressing it. You guessed it. So it compresses it and puts it into this tank. Before it gets to the tank, there's a pressure relief valve. If something were to go wrong and there would be too much pressure, it releases that excess pressure so we don't have some sort of accident. It's not labeled, but there's probably also an additional pressure relief valve right here. So we have a compressor, pressure relief valve, a drain. There is water in the air. It might not seem like it, even in a area where it's not very humid. There is moisture in the air. We can't have that getting into our tools or the cylinder at the very end of the line. So we have a drain that collects the water that needs to be drained off occasionally. We get into this tank, which stores the air. If we didn't have this tank, then this compressor would be running all the time. It's really loud, and this kind of stores the air. And as it gets used, the compressor is basically just replacing the air in the tank. Also notice this other drain at the bottom of the tank. Sometimes if we don't have a drain, that water can get inside of the tank. Water is heavier than air. It's going to settle to the bottom, and that needs to be drained off on occasion so we don't rust out the bottom of this tank, and then it would be ruined. So we get into a receiver tank. The transmission lines go to wherever it needs to go, in the shop, in the factory, wherever. And then it might come down something like this to a regulator. Regulator just regulates the pressure to whatever tool or item or process that's happening at the end of the line. So we could turn this knob for 10 psi, 50 psi, 100 psi, whatever. Another drain at the bottom. So a lot of times there are duplicate drains. This is showing another filter, never a bad idea. Depending on what we're using, like a high-end cylinder, we cannot have impurities in the line. So remember, sometimes in older systems, these are metal lines, and they may slowly corrode or rust over time. As that stuff kind of flakes off, that's fine, but we don't want it ending up in our tools or in our cylinder. Directional control valve, which is right here. This is like a lever. Imagine pushing this back and forth. And here's our cylinder. This is going to go up and down to do whatever. Press on a label, press on a part, anything. So these are kind of the common pneumatic system components.